For most of our lives, we're told to pick one thing and just master that one thing. But what if that's actually terrible advice? Today, we're going to tear that idea down and build a new one, a system for mastering not just one skill, but a whole bunch of them, and then combining them into something no one else has.
I mean, just think about it for a second. Leonardo da Vinci, he wasn't just a painter, right? He was an engineer, an anatomist, a musician. Or Benjamin Franklin, not just a politician, but a writer, a scientist, an inventor. They didn't see the world in a box, they saw it through all these different lenses at once.
So, the big question is, how? How on earth did they do all that? Were they just born with some kind of superhuman brain that the rest of us are missing?
The answer? Nope, not at all. They weren't a different species. What they had, what they built, was a system for learning and, more importantly, for connecting ideas from different fields. And that system is exactly what we're going to unpack right now. This is your modern guide to building your own unique kind of genius.
Okay, so this whole system kicks off with building a super strong foundation. Let's call it your anchor and your branches.
So before you get all excited and try to learn 12 things at once, and trust me, you'll just burn out, you've got to pick one field to be your anchor. And when I say deep, I don't mean you've watched a few YouTube videos deep. I mean you need to go deep enough that you can actually solve real-world problems with it and talk about it confidently without, just quoting Wikipedia. This whole idea is often visualized as the T-shaped model. Just picture the letter T. That long vertical bar, that's your anchor skill, where you go super deep. And the horizontal bar across the top, that's the broad connected knowledge you build later. The strategy is so simple, but so powerful. First, you go deep, then you go wide. So once that anchor is solid, it's time to build out that horizontal bar. You strategically pick one or two related fields and just start exploring. So for example, if your anchor is psychology, you might start branching out into neuroscience and philosophy. And you start hunting for those amazing overlaps, because that's where all the real innovation happens. This really drives home how critical that anchor is. Think about Elon Musk. He built his entire empire on a deep foundation of physics and economics. That led to rockets and electric cars. Now, it's kind of funny to imagine an alternate reality, right? What if he'd started with a less fundamental branch, like, say, novelty flamethrowers? Would we have SpaceX? Yeah, probably not. Your foundation changes absolutely everything. Okay, so we've got the structure, we get the anchor and branches idea, but what does this actually look like day to day? Let's dive into the practical side of how you learn like a polymath. It really starts with a simple rule for your time, the 80-20 rule. All this means is you spend about 80% of your dedicated learning time going deeper on your anchor, and you use the other 20% to explore those new, exciting branches. It's the perfect balance. It keeps you focused, but it also keeps that curiosity alive. Now, this is absolutely crucial. You can't just read a book or watch a lecture and expect the knowledge to magically stick in your brain. You have to learn actively. What does that mean? Well, it could be trying to teach a concept to a friend, or hey, even your cat. They're great listeners. Or maybe you build a tiny project with what you just learned. This is what separates just reading something from truly understanding it. So let's make this super concrete. Here's how you turn all this into a real habit. Daily, you carve out maybe an hour or two for that deep anchor learning. Then, weekly, you set aside a few hours, maybe on the weekend, to explore your branches. And the real key? Once a month, you tackle one small project that forces you to combine those skills. A structure like this makes the whole thing feel totally achievable, not completely overwhelming.
All right, this system sounds pretty great, but let's be real, it's not always a smooth ride. There are a few really common traps that people fall into. So let's talk about what they are, and more importantly, how you can sidestep them.
So the first trap, and honestly the most common one, is dabbling. This is when you learn a tiny bit about everything, but you never go deep on anything. It's like you're building 10 half-bridges across a river. Yeah, you feel really busy, but none of them are ever going to get you to the other side. Trap number 2 is skipping the fundamentals. Oh, it is so tempting to jump straight to the cool, advanced, sexy topics, but if you can't explain the basics of your field without that little wave of panic rising in your chest, you've built all your knowledge on sand, and eventually it's all going to come crashing down. And finally, there's the isolation trap. You just can't connect different ideas if you're stuck in your own little echo chamber. Seriously, one of the fastest ways to have a breakthrough is to go talk to people in completely different fields.
You will see connections that you would have never, ever found on your own.
So after building the system, learning the routine, avoiding the traps, what's the end game here? What's the whole point? Well, it's about becoming the first and only version of you.
At the end of the day, this whole system isn't about becoming a cheap copy of someone else. The goal is not to be the next Leonardo da Vinci. I mean, think about it. The world doesn't need another Leonardo. It needs the first you. This is all about forging a combination of skills that is so unique, only you can offer it to the world.
And that, right there, brings us to the only question that really matters. We've talked all about the how, but the what's? Well, that's completely up to you. So forget mastering just one thing. The real, exciting question is, what are you going to combine?